Well, welcome everybody. Virtual State of the Industry. I never thought I'd be doing it this way ever. And frankly, I miss seeing all of you in the audience. So look forward to doing that next year with you. But I do want to kick it off by thanking Yardi. Been just terrific supporters of ours. Great information, great visibility throughout the industry. And they've just been a wonderful partner to us. So thank you very much to Yardi. This really is an amazing reboot, isn't it? I mean, you look at what's going on with the economy. You look what the pandemic has done across this country. It's an amazing reboot, but it's going to really spur a lot of innovation as we work through these problems. We're going to create better product out the other side and a stronger industry and a stronger economy. So there's the reboot. When you look at state of the industry, I'm going to talk about some numbers in a second, but wow, we've never seen anything like this, have we? Look at the economy, nothing since the Great Depression. So none of us have seen this before. The pandemic. There hasn't been a pandemic like this in 100 years. We've never had to move out of buildings in big numbers with our tenants and then come back. So two huge things going on at the same time. But let me begin talking about the economic numbers. GDP, we always look at that as our gauge. So second quarter, we're expecting it to be down 34%. So of course, we've never seen that before. By the end of the year, we think GDP will be down about 5.8%. So we're beginning to grow a little bit, but we have never seen an economic blow like this in our lives. So now comes the rebuild. You start to see that in the economic numbers, 40 million people out of work, unemployment rate up to mid-teens to upper teens. We're starting to see the hiring again, right? In May, 2.5 million people went back to work. That's going to accelerate June, July, off into the third and fourth quarters of this year. And we're expecting next year to be a big deal in terms of growth. So we're going to get back to some of those traditional GDP numbers above 3%, people think, in the coming year. But when you look at what we're building out of in terms of economic impact, it's been pretty incredible. So let's shift to construction numbers. Those are always a really good indication of what's going on in the economy, what we can expect. And I think it's a good reminder that last year was year 11 or 12 of the recovery, whatever you want to call it. Still really good development going on. Economy was strong, record low unemployment. But construction was beginning to slow down a little bit, and we thought that was going to carry into this year. So originally, when you looked at non-residential construction, we thought there might be about 1.5% growth this year. Well, of course, we're not going to see that at all, right? Commercial, we think construction will be down 14% this year. We also think that the institutional construction could be down 7%. American Institute of Architects does great data here. I know Associated General Contractors as well. But construction is a good indicator. But you're seeing markets opening up again, construction coming back. Some markets didn't really shut down, but we're beginning to get beyond that as part of this economic recovery. So when you're looking at it, I would take a look at construction numbers because that's a really good indicator of the health of the economy overall. That optimism I was talking about with the construction numbers, ULI's economists were looking at it saying with all of that strength, we're really going to see some growth. So maybe this will be more of a V than a U kind of a recovery. The thing that I think we also keep in mind is we tend to overreact at times. So if you just read the papers and the magazines and all, they're talking about how office tenants are going to vacate, they're abandoning, they're going to work from home forever. People are going to migrate out of the expensive cities and they're going to work in the suburbs. There's going to be a lot of flux over the next year and lots of stories. But at the end of the day, people want to get to work. They want to be in the hubs. They want to be working with their colleagues. And that is going to come back. So don't overreact to what happens in the next 6 to 12 months in terms of the market. We're going to get back to some real business the back half of next year, 2022. And you're going to see an industry get back because people really need to be involved in the commercial real estate side of things. So all of that said, I want to take a moment and talk about what BOMA has done. This community of local associations, local leaders, BAEs, our affiliates, Canada, China, and elsewhere, the sharing that's gone on, the collaboration, and just the leadership on a variety of issues. We've been putting out guidance documents since February, helping people figure out how do you respond to COVID-19, how do you talk to tenants about what's going on, how do you define essential personnel. more recently, how do you re-enter those facilities, and how do you do it in a way that people feel confident in? From collaborative spaces, how do you distance people? Are you going to be doing lots with cleaning and hygiene? How are you going to get people up and out of buildings? What kind of signage will be there? And of course, tenants are working on their telework policies as well. All of that is there. On the industrial side, they've been doing a lot of business, right? They've been going gangbusters, but they've been resetting. They have to look at these new procedures around cleanliness, around social distancing, and all the rest. So they're resetting in a different way. Of course, hospitals, healthcare facilities are a whole different issue out there. Legislatively, we've been on the front lines throughout. And again, partnering up with our locals has been incredible. From the CARES Act and PPP, we brought trillions of dollars into the marketplace, made sure that money flowed into not only the workers, but the businesses that were out there. Lately, we've been working on liability protections. So if we're doing all of the right things in the marketplace, social distancing, face masks, cleaning, all the good things that are out there, there should be some general liability protection. We're working on that with our local associations across the states. We're working with the federal government on that, on national legislation, because there should be some level of protection so we can get people back into the office and we can do some really good business. Of course, I mentioned essential personnel. We define that. Costs are going to go up, so we're always looking at economic issues. So cleaning costs we know are going to go up, not just this year, but you can forecast at least into next year and beyond. So some sort of a tax credit there as well. All of that to say, we've been collaborating like never before, pushing out timely topical content and really creating value in the marketplace. We couldn't do it if we didn't have those 87 partners partner with us and the other industry groups and our affiliates. And I think it's a real pride point for many of us. So then you say, so where are we now? What does the market look like now? What should we expect as we're getting back into offices? Because many people aren't doing that. Well, of course, it looks very different. When you walk into a building like the BOMA headquarters in Washington, signage hits you right away. There's a path in and out. There are stickers on the floor, really trying to maintain that social distancing, reminding people to wash their hands, don't come to work sick. And then you look at things like loading into an elevator, getting up and down into a building. What's the capacity? Is it 2 people? Is it 4 on the corners? So it looks and feels very different. There's some great resources out there that people are putting out. Gensler in terms of design, I'll talk about that more specifically. All of the major commercial real estate companies, CBRE, Cushman & Wakefield, JLL, Avison Young, Transwestern, name the group. They're all putting out some really great guidance in terms of how they're going to approach their tenants, their buildings, and provide the service. The thing I've always loved about the BOMA network, people share. We love to compete, but in times like this, everything is out there, including all the resources we've developed with our local associations. And our vendor partners have been doing the same thing. Kimberly-Clark Professional on the cleaning, the hygiene, the disinfecting. We'll talk about touchless technology in bathrooms and all the rest. ThyssenKrupp in this example, when you look at the stickers on the floor. Elevator companies are helping us figure out how are we going to get people up into buildings and then down out of those buildings. Sometimes we'll be opening up stairwells going up and down as well. So the office feels very different in that landscape. So let's talk about one of those models, the 6 feet office that was created by Cushman & Wakefield. Take a look.
We started the 6 feet office project with the ambition to get the world safer and sooner back at work. We believe that a safe and healthy workplace is at the center of what's next. We have developed the 6 feet office as part of our total workplace concept. Cushman & Wakefield can get companies operational as soon and cost efficient as possible. We would like to inspire organizations and people about a safe and healthy workplace, finding a better work-life balance, and becoming more engaged with the ambitions of your organization. We would also like to invite companies to join us develop the 6 Feet Office project further from a technology perspective, facilities, or just good ideas to make work better. Thank you for helping us move this forward. Together we're stronger.
So the thing I really like about that video are a couple things. A, seeing how that concept plays out, but you could see they were trying different things in terms of flow through the building, mats on desks for hygiene and all the rest. And I love the fact that that came out of the Netherlands, because we've talked about the edge building for years. High tech, low touch, getting people in and out of those properties in a really productive way. The 6 Feet office is something we're going to wrestle with as tenants get back into space, not only now, but into the future, because they're going to want to maintain that kind of space in their areas. So, where do we go from here? All these issues: health and wellness, hygiene, spacing, how do we bring in the telecommuting crowd and leverage up technology? All of those things are going to happen. But this is when real estate really does what it does best: create value. We innovate. So what this is going to do is supercharge our efforts going forward so that we can design new high productive spaces that are going to draw the tenants in, take advantage of the technology, and create a different formula. So we're going to wrestle with all these things over the coming years, learn from each other, and really make a difference in the marketplace. So I mentioned briefly touchless technology. It's going to be a big deal, right? Because people aren't going to want those buttons, the elevator buttons, the high-touch buttons, the door handles, bathrooms. People are really going to want us to be leveraging up technologies that we've been talking about for years. So I don't need to touch anything. I can register with my card. A sensor is going to detect that I'm coming in. The door will open. The lights will go on. I don't need to flick the switch on any of that stuff. So touchless is going to be big. You're also going to see more wearables as people come back into buildings. Tracking, again, as part of that sensor configuration. All of those things are going to happen. Are we going to have facial recognition? Some people will, to see who it is who's coming into that building. But these virtual environments are going to be learning laboratories for us, because we're going to create new kinds of high productive spaces. And of course, for the last 3-4 months, many of us have been working from home. We've been using Zoom. We've been using Skype for Business or GoToMeeting, any number of things. Think about your conference rooms. We're going to be wiring those up differently so we can take advantage of those technologies. We're going to be doing more of our sales calls remotely. We're going to have staff in the office, but other staff in different locations. So we're going to have to figure out how do we want to wire up those spaces, not only for our own use, but tenants are going to be trying to figure out that formula, because they're still going to remain in the hub, but they're going to leverage up technology in ways that drives productivity and high touch. The other thing that's going to happen in a big way is health and wellness. When you look at BOMA 360 2.0, there's a health and wellness component in that. You've all heard about well building. You've heard about FitWell. Companies are developing their own programs, but they're borrowing from these programs, developing their own brands or whatever else. But the bottom line is bringing in more natural light, bringing in more outside air, creating those outdoor environments, balconies, rooftops, areas on the outside of the building, walking trails. We're going to have more people biking into work. The environment's going to change. Fitness facilities, those are going to be very important, whether in your building or shared services. All that's going to be very important to people going forward. And we've talked about biophilic design for the last few years, borrowing that from hospital settings, which helps the recovery, but improves air quality, creates warm environments. All of these elements are going to come together to create healthy workplaces that are very productive. At this annual conference, we have Harvard is on one of the programs. They've been talking for years about how if you do all of these things, you can create more productive workplaces. It's tangible. So this is going to accelerate our thinking in terms of how we integrate that working with our tenants going forward. Health and wellness is going to be big. And then, of course, the whole design piece. Let's go back to that 6 feet office, but it's not only spreading out. What are you going to do with those open tables? Right now, we got plexiglass everywhere. I think we're going to turn that into art in another year and a half. But right now, it's dividing up some spaces. What are you going to do about the cubicle farms? Are you going to separate them? Are you going to make them bigger? And then, of course, you've got the private offices, the flow, and all the rest. So the mix in terms of what that space is going to look like is going to change. There are lots of models being pursued by the major companies. Gensler, the architectural firms, clearly are looking on redesigning. So that's going to be something that we're all going to be thinking about together. But the other element that I would put into the mix is I want to control my desk, right? I want to make sure that it's clean. So whether I'm in an open area or I'm in a cubicle or my desk, I want to be able to maintain that. So we're going to have to encourage tenants, and I think they will, invest in their workers and their space, potentially expanding their spaces to make a difference. So then you say, what's that new normal? How do we get people back into offices in big numbers? Most of the cities where they have started reentering, 8, 10, 15% of people are going back, even if they're saying 25 to 50% can. So it's going to take some time to get people back into offices. You're going to have to keep the sick people at home. You're going to have to establish and make people comfortable that there's social distancing, that there's sanitation, cleaning everywhere, that they can get hand sanitizer whenever they want, that they can get in and out of the building safely with the other tenants, and that the services are going to be protected as well. All of these things are going to be layered on as we create a comfort level over the next 3, 6, and I would say in some places 9 months for us to get back to a really new normal where everybody's back in the market. So here's an example of technology. You know, I love robotics, but people are going to take a look at using robots to clean. We've got bots in our homes that are doing vacuuming, right? Airports are beginning to use bots. Allied Universal has been using robots for security inspections around buildings at night for years. Some of you use that. We're using drones for building inspections, looking at those buildings from the outside and making sure everything's in place. So we're going to be leveraging up technology and robotics. Of course, on the industrial side, they've been using robotics and automation for years. It's incredible to think of what the automation's like in an Amazon facility or anywhere else. But robots are coming. We've known that. We're going to leverage it up. And of course, again, the technology, as it evolves, becomes less expensive, so more approachable. And augmented reality, of course, we've talked about for years in terms of a program, but those virtual tours of tenant spaces, apartments, you name it, all of these things are going to be used more, and artificial intelligence with the 5G network, of course, is going to activate that in whole new ways. So leverage up your technology. Let's finish up and do something really basic. Let's make the case for the office. Why do people want to be in offices? Well, guess what? When the surveys go out, and Gensler's done some wonderful research, which we're going to talk about here, 74% of tenants, what do they miss? Well, they miss people. They miss the contact, the daily contact, formal meetings, informal, the ability to get together for lunch, a beer, just casually walk into an office and brainstorm an idea, seeing people face to face. Many of us have been at home. We haven't had that much contact. We don't like it. We want to be around people. That's part of the synergy of an office. And that's where the collaboration takes place. It can be formal. You can do it on a Zoom and all that in a formal setting. But most real collaboration are new ideas that people are birthing and thinking about, bouncing off other people, and doing that in a variety of different settings. And that's the only way that's going to happen as you're doing that. And then, of course, the other thing is as you're brainstorming and talking to other people, you don't know what's going on unless you really are next to them and see what they're working on, see what ideas they have in terms of other things that they're working on. The office environment allows that collaboration, that high performance, the creativity to come out, and the innovation to thrive. And that's how tenants create value that they're selling out in the marketplace. There are problems when we're working from home, right? Connectivity. It's not perfect. You cut in, you cut out, you've got problems. That's an issue that we all deal with. So it's nice to be in an office where you've got all the advantages in terms of that technology. If you look at Generation Z, think about their workplace. Hopefully they've got a job and they're not in their parents' house, but maybe they are. Or they're in a group house, because that's how many of us started in our cities. Or they've got a really little apartment. They don't really have a setup for their home office the same way you have in an office. They don't have everything that they need to be productive. They're also not close to their mentors, folks who can spur them on and all the rest. And then think about the millennials who are now having families, raising kids, working from home. That is not perfect. There are lots of different distractions that are going on that you don't have in an office, where you can move in with your peers, talk about the issues, get your work done, and then go back home to your family. So there are lots of reasons why the home office isn't a permanent solution. Offices are where business is going to be done. That's where the rubber hits the road. So let's finish up with 5 different things to think about with the workplace. One is focus. I, for one, am much more focused when I'm in the office and productive, and people are coming in and pushing and the phone's ringing and all the rest. Productivity is much higher in an office environment than it is at home. Same thing with the team. When the team can get together, again, not only in those formal settings, yeah, you can do Zoom team meetings, but a lot of what happens is on either end of those meetings, people want to get together and talk face-to-face and see each other. And you got a lot of energy out of that, right? I do. I mean, I think of the annual conference that we're all missing this year. I love the fact that I can see people across the room that I haven't seen and catch up, share ideas, went to a session, saw a speaker, went on a trip, whatever it was, that really allows us to bond in terrific ways and feed off of each other. And of course, there's the whole continuous learning piece, right? When you're around other people, they've read different things, they've been to different programs, their companies are doing different things. They're a part of a BOMA committee that's wrestling with an idea or two. But that ability to continuously learn from each other, push each other, check out different items, those things happen in an office setting. They don't happen because you're on Zoom or Skype for Business or anywhere else. They happen because you get back what primary business is done, and that's in offices. The extended workplace is going to be there forever. I think we've all torn up our telework policies and all the rest. People are going to work from home a day or two a week, some cases more than that. But for the most part, they're going to want to get back to their offices where the people are and their teams are, and the catalyst and the energy and all that only can happen in an office environment. So as we finish up, it really is a huge reboot, right? We're working through an economy we've never seen before. We're beginning to do that successfully. We're re-entering in offices. We've never been through an exercise like this nationwide in our history, but it's going to drive an amazing amount of creativity as we look at new spacing, new ways of operating in those buildings, leveraging up technology. All that's going to change. And we're going to work through these social issues. We're going to work on our diversity and our inclusivity. We're going to create communities where there's opportunity for everybody and everybody feels safe. And when you put that all together, it's what commercial real estate does better than anything. We create value, we drive change, and we're always leaders. And we're going to lead as we take this economy out into the future. Thank you.